This special edition of Weather to Watch is going to focus on this upcoming weekend. You can see two back-to-back severe weather events, pretty large ones. We'll dive in and talk more about it. Well, all right, let's take a look at these in greater detail. Here's the severe weather outlook issued for Saturday. These are regular forecasts made by the Storm Prediction Center, and they'll go all the way out to day 8. This is day 6, issued on a Monday morning. I'm recording this on Monday afternoon. This won't update till tomorrow. But I want to, so it's actually a high confidence forecast to be able to say something like this 6 days away. And that's both a good and a bad thing. It's a good thing in that there's a lot of agreement. It's a bad thing in that there's still some room to tweak this forecast, certainly between now and Saturday. But what you're seeing is a 15% chance of any type of severe weather within a 25-mile circle. And at this distance, 15, I think, is the only one that they'll do. I'm not sure about that, but certainly with confidence being a lot higher, if you did see the next level up, that would be an even worse situation as anticipated. So this is Saturday, covering all of Missouri, much of Arkansas, a good chunk of Oklahoma and Kansas. And then the entire storm system, as is so often the case, basically just shifts to the east. So on Sunday, now we're still covering parts of Missouri, all of Arkansas, and most of Louisiana now, and all the way deeply into the Ohio, Tennessee River valleys into Alabama. So this is for Sunday. So again, the entire storm basically just shifts east and picks up speed. And we're going to show you some models in a second. So if you're wondering at this point, what does this mean with regard to damaging winds, hail, and tornadoes? Can we differentiate between those? At this distance, we cannot. So in other words, I can't say with any confidence this is a tornado outbreak. And I can't say with any confidence this is a widespread windstorm that's going to be one big squall line that just covers all of this. It's way too early. But again, the confidence that we have two back-to-back like that in springtime, and we have, as you'll see here in a minute, some model agreement, computer model agreement, does kind of point to the idea that this is a pretty significant event. All right, well, when the Storm Prediction Center offers 2 days in a row of a fairly large area of severe weather potential, it's worth noting. So those were the 6-day and the 7-day forecasts. Now, the first thing I'll say is those are still a ways out and are likely subject to some adjustments over the next couple of days. Having said that, those are not issued lightly. So I think the best thing I can do right now is kind of show you what the thinking is on this upcoming weekend severe weather potential. So the two main players always are what's going on with the jet stream and what's going on with unstable air, essentially. And this time of year, unstable air is usually a function of how much humidity can be pumped up from the Gulf into the central U.S. or wherever we're talking about here. In this case, it's the Great Plains and eventually the Mississippi, Tennessee, Ohio River valleys. So what you're looking at right here is the 500 millibar wind field. That's about the middle of where all the active weather is in our troposphere, the lower part of our atmosphere. So this is just a good way of finding storms, basically. So this is the GEFS. So this is an ensemble of one of the long-range models. So first of all, let's just take a look at things here. This is initialized today, and we had this trough of low pressure right here. That's going to be moving on out. In fact, we'll advance the time here. And what we're actually going to see first here is right here, this ridge of high pressure right here is very warm. So much of the country here midweek is going to experience much above normal temperatures. This is Friday in the morning. So the main jet stream is flowing way up here in New York and in New England. And then we have this, of course, very suspicious system right here. And whenever I see this, when I'm trying to look at storm chase potential or just severe weather potential, I see something like that nosing in and I go, okay, that's something worth watching. So that's Friday. And again, we go into, this is Saturday morning right here. So we have the nose of this very powerful jet coming into the plains. So that, again, if it's combined with unstable air, is somewhat concerning, basically. Now, again, this is output for 6 days from now, so there's going to be some tweaking to this. Now, if we go ahead, and remember the 2 days were Saturday and Sunday, so this is Saturday morning, and we'll go forward here a little bit. That's Saturday in the early evening, still a very strong jet stream flow. Now, the one thing about the ensembles is that it does kind of iron out the whole thing and gets rid of outliers. But by the same token, outliers can be the main break or go forward with severe weather a lot of times. So I guess what I'm saying is you're looking at perhaps a more accurate representative, but also a little bit of a smoothed over representation of what's going to happen. So in other words, this jet stream could be a little weaker than maybe what actually comes out of New Mexico ultimately. So anyway, that's Saturday evening, and then we go to the next day, which is Sunday. That's Sunday about noon there. And so that's Sunday evening around 6, 7 o'clock. And again, the area that we'd be watching just from a jet stream perspective would be that area right there. So let's go back a little bit here. I should be able to do this. This is Saturday morning right here. And then let's look at that severe weather indicator. So if we're just looking at, let's say, just a combination of where good wind shear, instability, and actual precipitation is looking for. So this is Saturday morning here, and if we look forward here to this is Saturday around noon, and that is Saturday evening basically. So there is some unstable air, quite widespread. One thing about this particular storm system is there is going to be ample time for Gulf moisture to work its way up into this region, and it's not going to be shunted by a cold front like the last one was. In the last big outbreak, even with that, as you already know, that was a prolific tornado producer. So this time of year is just ripe for that sort of thing. So that's what we're looking at. That's Saturday evening. And then on Sunday evening, you'll notice overnight we have, this is Sunday morning, and then that is Sunday, again, early evening, 6 or 7 o'clock. So it looks a lot more unstable. You're simply giving the moisture more time to feed up into this thing. So if anywhere from southern Illinois and Indiana, maybe even central parts of those states, all the way down to Louisiana, Mississippi, looking like that on Sunday. And again, long way away. One thing we can do to mitigate this as well is change models here. And so we can look at the European model for the same time period here. I think I say I can do that, but I'm not sure I can get behind there to change the model because it's behind my recording. So let's stop and start again. All right, I changed it behind the scenes, and now we're looking at the EPS. So this is the European model. These are the two long-range models that most people look at, and by long range is anything past, let's say, day 3 or 4, which we would have to do to talk about this weekend. So let's look at the same two parameters. Here's the 500 millibar flow starting with today. Again, we have this big ridge of high pressure that builds in by Friday, Thursday night, Friday. Very warm temperatures underneath here, widespread above normal temperatures. And this little system right here in Texas, again, not associated with anything that's going to scour the Gulf of moisture. It's much weaker, and so I don't think that's going to be a player. And already you can see, again, stronger winds coming ashore in California, up into parts of Montana and Wyoming. Again, our flag is raised whenever you see that sort of activity. Let's go ahead and look at Saturday morning there. There's Saturday morning right there. Again, the nose of a powerful jet stream coming in about the same as the other model. And that right there is one of the reasons I think that the Storm Prediction Center pulled the trigger on that large area of yellow, because they see the two models they depend on the most agreeing to a certain extent here. So that's why the confidence, in other words, is higher. And that's Saturday. So we go to Saturday evening, which is right about there. So this is a powerful jet stream, and just kind of punching its way into a return of moisture that I'll show you in a minute. Okay, and then we go on to Sunday. So here's Sunday morning right here, and then Sunday evening is right there. And you'll notice again that the Ohio River Valley, mid-Mississippi River Valley, all the way down to the Gulf, still in an active zone of weather. And also, curiously, and we won't even get into this, I'm sure some of you already, sharp-eyed, have already noticed, there's another nose of a jet stream right there. And so that could be a player, let's say, Tuesday, a week from tomorrow. And that's really fantasy land. But, again, if the two models agree, not so much so. Let's take a look at that moisture. And I think that the European model is not as robust. Oh, no, it does the exact same parameters. So let's go back here. We'll take a look at Saturday. That's Saturday morning. Again, it's not looking as unstable with a return flow, but by Saturday afternoon, there's Saturday evening. And again, remember that this is going to tend to smooth things out a little bit. That doesn't look real intense as compared to that, for example, but it doesn't mean it can't get that way given enough of a fetch and enough time for that moisture to return. And I think you're going to find the same commonality here between these two models when we go, here's Sunday morning, Sunday about noon or 1, And then Sunday early evening, again, like the other model we looked at, a much more definitive area of unstable air from southern Illinois down to Louisiana. So that first round on Saturday certainly could be potent. And that second round is showing up as a little more intense on both of the long-range models. Thanks for watching this edition of Weather to Watch. It comes out every other day, or as the weather necessitates. Please remember to share this with your friends, subscribe to the channel, or at the very least, like what you just watched. Thanks.